and it just doesn't work. You can't mimic the king. You can't mimic the master.
One of the main problems with having so many sycophants around Donald Trump is the fact that he colors himself some kind of a king figure. I mean, this is a tweet from February the 19th where Donald Trump from the White House tweeted, "Long live the king." And when he surrounds himself with ass-kissing sycophants, just obsequious lapdogs, servile mutts, every single one of them, it emboldens him into the most dictatorial position that he could ever dream of being in. And yesterday, J.D. Vance was given an interview to, I guess, newly promoted to the A-team on Fox News, Will Cain. Mr. hasn't seen a pull-up he could complete since maybe high school. And J.D. Vance, while maligning Gavin Newsom for the mockery of Donald Trump, they're calling it mimicking, as though Gavin Newsom wants to copy Donald Trump. They can't see through what is taking place, that it's just sheer mockery, that it's absolutely Gavin Newsom self-implanting into Donald Trump's brain to live rent-free there. Well, let's just get to the clip. Here is J.D. Vance calling Gavin Newsom the problem, that there's no way you can mimic Donald Trump. You can't mimic the king and the master. There's a problem here when the vice president of the United States, an elected official, is calling his boss, another elected official who has considered himself a king for a long time, calling him a king, and not only calling him a king, but calling him the master.
You bring up humor. Gavin Newsom sure thinks he's a comedian these days on social media, and so does much of the left. His polling numbers have gone way up since he started mimicking President Trump on social media.
Yeah.
What do you make of Governor Newsom?
I make of Governor Newsom that you said he's mimicking Donald Trump, and I think that's exactly right. The lesson of Donald Trump, the lesson of President Trump in American politics is you've got to be authentic to yourself. And when I see Gavin Newsom trying to act like Donald Trump, that's the opposite of authenticity. He's not trying to be Gavin Newsom, whoever that is. He's trying to be a fake carbon copy of Donald Trump, and it just doesn't work. You can't mimic the king. You can't mimic the master. You ought to just go and be yourself. And I think that the American people would like that a lot more than a cheap imitation of the President of the United States.
That's a problem, especially with the backdrop of everything Donald Trump has said, which I'm going to get to. I'm going to remind you of all of the things that Donald Trump has said that make this extra problematic to refer to him as a king in any way when he's the president. He is restricted by, his behaviors are controlled by, mandated by the Constitution of the United States, a document to which J.D. Vance has sworn an oath to multiple times. This other individual, Trey Gowdy, who's now a propagandist over on what is now state-run media, Fox News, he's also running interference, talking like this in an anti-democratic way. And by the way, while we're on the topic of Trey Gowdy, why is it that Trey Gowdy looks like the mutilated vestigial twin of Joel Osteen that was like trapped inside the diseased placenta from their mother? These two dudes are like twin-ish, I guess. Watch the aforementioned vestigial twin talk about Donald Trump and give credence to the idea that he may run again, making him, I guess, the king he wants to be.
I love the contrast of what Gavin Newsom stands for versus whoever comes after President Trump if he opts not to run for re-election. Again, Newsom, clearly Trump is inside Gavin Newsom's head. Now, the problem is he's rolling around and he's lonely because there's not a lot else there. Look, get over President Trump. He's got you, Gavin. Get over him.
Yeah, Jessica.
You love the Gavin Newsom might run against whoever comes after Donald Trump if Donald Trump decides not to run again. I hate to break it to you, man who has raised his right hand and sworn oath to protect this document against all enemies, foreign and domestic, while making tongue-in-cheek comments about whether Donald Trump will run again unconstitutionally, undemocratically, illegally for president for a third term. And again, stop giving people the benefit of the doubt, especially these people who endeavor to destroy our democracy, who make the case that Donald Trump had the election stolen from him in 2020, who are caping for the man who's sending armed agents masked into the streets to kidnap citizens. On August 25th, Donald Trump made reference to being a dictator in the Oval Office, sitting behind the famous Resolute desk in the Oval Office, making a comment about how many people, a lot of people, want a dictator.
As you all know, Chicago's a killing field right now. And they don't acknowledge it. And they say, we don't need him, freedom, freedom. He's a dictator, he's a dictator. A lot of people are saying maybe we like a dictator. I don't like a dictator. I'm not a dictator. I'm a man with great common sense and I'm a smart person.
Nobody's saying that. And apparently it didn't pick up enough steam because the very next day in his cabinet meeting, he made multiple references to it. Here's one of them.
But then he goes on television and says, oh, Trump is a dictator, he's a dictator. And a lot of people have so the line is that I'm a dictator, but I stop crime. So a lot of people say, you know, if that's the case, I'd rather have a dictator. But I'm not a dictator. I just know how to stop crime.
I don't know anybody who's saying that if Donald Trump can stop crime, he can be a dictator. Maybe bootlicking, ass-kissing Republicans. Nobody normal. Nobody whose opinion matters. Nobody has any respect or fealty or loyalty to the Constitution of the United States at all. Same meeting, said it again.
We have a guy in Illinois, the governor of Illinois, saying that crime has been much better in Chicago recently, and Trump is a dictator. And most people say, if you call him a dictator, if he stops crime, he can be whatever he wants. I'm not a dictator, by the way, but he can be whatever he wants.
If he stops crime, he can be whatever he wants. Yeah. Look, we've got a problem. Obviously, we have a problem because nearly half of the country, or at least one of the two political parties that has any weight or heft or impact at all, is run by sycophants. It's run by people who are desirous of the boot of tyranny on their neck, despite all of the flying of the Gadsden flags. Don't tread on me! When they want nothing more than to be tread upon by their cult leader, the dear leader, Donald Trump. Anyway, very troubling. It's only getting worse from here. If this is where we are now in the first 8 months of Donald Trump's presidency, where are we going to be in a year, in 6 months? I'll leave you with that question.
Why can't you pray for the speedy recovery of these kids who literally just got shot yesterday, while at the same time committing to making sure this doesn't happen again, or that it happens as infrequently as possible?
Every single time there's a mass shooting in this country, decent and good and empathetic and caring, normal people have the response of wanting to do something to prevent it from happening again. And like I said the other day, there is no pile of dead bodies of children that is too high for Republicans. Nothing will make them shed a tear, maybe even the death of their own child at the hands of a gunman. Maybe not. The only thing they offer is thoughts and prayers, thoughts and prayers, thoughts and fucking prayers, which is good for them. It helps them, I guess, feel good and feel like they're doing something. But let me put it like this. In an election, if you choose not to vote, but instead pray for whoever you want to win, how do you think that's going to work? Do you think it's going to have an impact? Maybe if your prayers, Republicans, bring it in. Seriously, come on, bring it in. If your prayers are so powerful as to impact policy, as to impact the continuation or lack thereof of mass shootings where there is mass carnage and death at the hands of a gunman, if your prayers work that well, why don't you pray for the outcome of elections instead of actually voting? J.D. Vance tweeted this: "It is shocking to me that so many left-wing politicians attack the idea of prayer in response to a tragedy. Literally, no one thinks prayer is a substitute for action. We pray because our hearts are broken and we believe that God is listening." Literally, no one thinks that prayer is a substitute for action. Then why will you not act, J.D. Vance? Why is it the only offer prayer? You offer zero solutions. This tweet was followed by an interview on Fox News where he said virtually the same thing, which really should lead you to believe and understand that this was a workshopped statement from J.D. Vance, not an off-the-cuff thing. He tweeted it, barely edited it with what he said on Fox News.
My final point on this is when I see far left politicians say, "How dare you offer thoughts and prayers? You need action. I don't care about your prayers. I care about what you're going to do to prevent this from happening." Why does it have to be one or the other? Why can't you pray for the speedy recovery of these kids who literally just got shot yesterday, while at the same time committing to making sure this doesn't happen again or that it happens as infrequently as possible? I don't think there's anything inconsistent about saying a prayer to God for these innocent, beautiful kids, while also thinking constructively about how we're going to prevent this from happening the next time. You can do both of those things. You can hold a thought, both of those thoughts in your head at the same time. And Will, if you are a politician or you're a media commentator and two beautiful babies just got murdered while praying, and your politics force you to contemn prayer in response to it, you ought to get new politics because something very wrong has gone on inside your soul.
Which far left politicians are you talking about, J.D. Vance? Because that term has lost all meaning or relevance whatsoever when it comes out of your fucking mouth or out of the mouth of your dear leader, Donald Trump. Because you people act like Chuck Schumer is a far left politician. You people act like Mark Warner or Cory Booker is a far left politician. Moderates, at the very most charitable, those people are moderate Democrats. They're not far left politicians. But when I see these far left, how dare you offer your thoughts and prayers? You need action. I don't care about your prayer. I care about what you're going to do to prevent this from happening. Why does it have to be one or the other? Well, it's because prayer helps you feel better. Prayer, if it worked as well as you say, would have prevented the entire shooting in Minnesota because the children were in pews in a church, literally fucking praying, you ghoul. They were in a church. Apparently, the prayers that they were offering up to their God did not create a force field to protect them from the bullets shattering the windows and entering their little frail bodies, killing them. I'll say what I said the other day. There is no Olympic-sized swimming pool large enough to fill with blood of dead kids that Republicans will grieve over. They offer their thoughts and prayers. And it's not just me who's infuriated by this. There are millions and millions and tens of millions of good and decent Americans who cannot fathom the lack of response, the indifference, the callousness that's put on display by Republicans in the wake of dead kids. Tina Smith, senator from Minnesota, I sat with her just a few weeks ago, and I came out of my meeting with her, looking her in the eye, talking about her friends who had been murdered at the hands of a Republican gunman, an assassin. And this is a good woman. This human being has deep compassion and empathy. I'm not a person who gets dazzled by politicians And of all the people that I met that day, Alex Padilla, Cory Booker, but someone I greatly admire in Jamie Raskin, I was dazzled by Tina Smith. She had this to say, and keep in mind, she's not a bomb thrower. She's not bombastic. She is demure and quiet and thoughtful. She's not a Jessie D. She's something entirely different and better. She tweeted this: "How dare you go to Annunciation School and tell our grieving community, in effect, guns don't kill kids. Antidepressants do. Just shut up. Stop peddling bullshit. You should be fired." Now, this tweet was in response to a video that was posted by, I believe, Aaron Rupar of Robert Kennedy Jr., the non-scientist, the non-expert on anything other than contracting brain worms. Robert Kennedy Jr., he's going to tell you what's up about dead kids. It's not the guns that are the problem for RFK. No, it's antidepressants, as though America is the only country where people take antidepressants. You realize how stupid an argument that is, right? That the reason we have dead kid after dead kid after dead kid after dead kid after dead kid in school after school after school, in state after state after state, in city after city after fucking city is because of antidepressants. Well, what about all the people who take antidepressants in Great Britain or in Iceland, where a higher proportion of people take antidepressants in Iceland than here in the United States? How about that? Why are they not seeing piles of dead babies from gun mass shootings? Could it be because of the guns? Could it be? Watch, again, non-expert Robert Kennedy Jr. give his expertise, of course, on Fox News.
Prevent it, and we're still trying to get a lot of answers to a ton of questions. But the one thing is clear: you are dealing with a person who's trans, that was transitioning. Are you going to be examining at all some of the drugs that are used in order to make that transition happening, to see if it plays a role? Because we also know there was a trans shooter in the Tennessee situation.
Yeah, we are doing those kind of studies now at NIH. We're launching studies on the potential contribution of some of the SSRI drugs and some of the other psychiatric drugs that might be contributing to violence. You know, many of them on there have black box warnings that warn of suicidal ideation and homicidal ideation. So we can't exclude those as a culprit, and those are the kind of studies that we're doing.
So I've never seen that medicine, but you're saying that if you get it, some of the side effects could be homicide, suicide?
Well, there are black box warnings on some of these psychiatric drugs that warn about, in their clinical trials, that they saw suicidal and homicidal ideation. So, you know, we are going into that with an open mind.
We're launching studies about things that might be the case. They might be the case because it aligns with your particular political persuasion, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. That how lucky for you that you get to promote your conspiracy theories while also serving the will of the National Rifle Association and every other ghoul who wants weapons of war in the hands of untrained, unqualified, unwell individuals. I don't know. I don't have answers. I don't know that anyone does, because it's been decades and decades and decades and decades of this with no end in sight, with no concern in sight. Because why? We rely on thoughts and prayers and not political solutions. thoughts and prayers are for spiritual problems. The way I see it. Policy is for real life problems, policy problems, societal problems. The problem of 100,000 dead babies and kids at the hands of shooters. Anyway, what do you think? I would love if you got a solution. You can share it with me in the comments wherever you're watching this video. You can also call the voicemail line 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. Thank you for joining me today. Donald Trump so bored by his birthday parade that he fell asleep at one point. It was a debacle of the highest order. So I don't know if you've heard, but apparently Donald Trump is very sad about his birthday parade. His military birthday parade didn't go very well. And so the Navy is also going to throw him a parade. What's next? He got the tank parade, and now he's going to get the boat parade. Does he need a train parade? Maybe a cop car parade? I think the only thing that would truly satiate Donald Trump is a parade of all of the children of his own children that he has intimated that he wants to have sex with. He wants to have an Ivanka parade, a one-person parade for Donald Trump to lust after her. I think that's what he wants. This is a hell of a place to be. Let me read you this headline from the Daily Beast. U.S. Navy wants to hold a massive boat parade to cheer up Trump. The president wants all the ships. The U.S. Navy is reportedly planning a lavish parade of its own after a multi-million-dollar military parade earlier this year left Donald Trump feeling flat. Trump hosted the military's largest parade in decades in Washington, D.C. on June 14th, which happens to be his birthday, to mark 250 years of the U.S. Army and also, conveniently, they also add, his own 79th birthday, as well as No Kings protest against Trump across the country to coincide with the military anniversary event that cost taxpayers $30 million. Footage of lackluster soldiers marching out of step went viral. Photos suggested that the president rested his eyes at one point during his birthday party. Crowd figures were also less than impressive. Remember, I'll just play a clip while I'm yammering here. The clip of the very empty stands while soldiers marched out of step and squeaky old tanks rolled by. Donald Trump so bored by his birthday parade that he fell asleep at one point. It was a debacle of the highest order. There were dudes holding drones. I don't think I have footage of this, but dudes holding drones marching down the street. And it bummed people out. It bummed all of the Trump idiots out. I did a video about it the next day. I'll put a link to it below if I remember to do so. Sorry, sometimes I say that and then don't. It was a nightmare, and it made Trump very sad, very bummed out, very disappointed because he was mocked unmercifully over it. Yeah. A new report in the Wall Street Journal has intel from the president's administration that a do-over parade could be in the works, this time taking place at sea. Wonder how they're going to do a Navy parade at sea and have the public participate? Or will it be only for Donald Trump? Now, I'm going to read a little bit from this Wall Street Journal article, which is entitled, "In Trump's Second Term, a Bolder President Charges Ahead Unchecked. Trump is frequently riffing on authoritarianism and ignoring caution from advisors." So look, obviously the Wall Street Journal, a couple of things you need to know if you don't already, owned by Rupert Murdoch. It is just another property that he owns, like Fox News, like the New York Post, like so many other media conglomerates all over the country, or all over the world, for that matter, excuse me. And even they have some things that are alarming to say about what they learned from this, about this, relative to Donald Trump and his choices in his second term that he believes might be just his middle term since he wants to be president again. I don't know that he's going to live to see the end of this term because of his poor health. How would he run again? But this is what the Rupert Murdoch-owned sister company of Fox News had to say about Donald Trump. Trump is motivated by having control over all American institutions, said Douglas Brinkley, a presidential historian at Rice University. He seems to want to grab everyone by the neck and say, I'm in charge. Trump has also pushed the optics of his presidency in a monarchical direction, holding a military parade in June for the Army's 250th birthday. Officials had thwarted a similar one in his first term by arguing it would look like a third world spectacle. After the Washington parade, Trump told aides he was disappointed with the marching, and the U.S. Navy is trying to plan a bigger celebration this fall, hoping for a shimmering spectacle with seacraft, administration officials said. As he remakes the contours of his presidency, he is also physically refashioning symbols of American power. Trump has covered the Oval Office with gold flourishes reminiscent of Gulf state palaces over the objection of some advisors, telling them he gets compliments from world leaders and visitors. He installed 2 new flagpoles on lawns in front and back of the White House, which coincidentally, from a white power standpoint, both stand 88 feet high. 88, obviously, a reference to H and H, the 8th letter of the alphabet, H and H, Heil Hitler. With all of the symbology and iconography of the Nazi Party surrounding Donald Trump and the Republican Party, I would say don't give them the benefit of the doubt that that's just a coincidence, right? The president gives away campaign-style baseball hats to visitors emblazoned with the phrase Trump 2028, even though the Constitution bars him from running for another term and keeps them in a White House office. So look, this is, it's dangerous for a number of different reasons, but chief among them is that he's so fragile and weak and insecure that is what drives him. Logic and reason and ability doesn't drive him. It doesn't motivate him. It creates no North Star for him. The thing that he's focused on is the fact that his dad didn't hug him enough. His mom hugged him too much. He hates himself. He knows he's a dumb guy. He knows he's a physical weakling. He knows he's a coward who's afraid of his own shadow. And by virtue of those insufficiencies, he must pound his chest and act like an alpha man when he is absolutely nothing of the sort. He had the chance to be in the military when his number got called for the draft, not once, not twice, more than that. 4 times he dodged the draft because of his cowardice, because of his fear, because of his weakliness. Weakliness? Is that a word? Well, we're making it a word today. Let me know in the comments what you think. I would appreciate your participation in this conversation.
I've been thinking about their friends and their teachers, about all the parents, about all the grandparents out there navigating the return to school.
Republicans love to attack decent people, good people, empathetic people. And in the face of a tragedy like we just witnessed again in Minnesota with the death of these children, the attack on these children in their school, in their place of worship, gunned down literally in pews while praying, the White House press secretary, the spokesperson for the President of the United States, is attacking Jen Psaki, someone who used to do her job. Attacking Jen Psaki for being a good and decent human being who has showed deep emotion and grief, anguish on the air. I'm going to show you this clip. Before I do, I'm going to read you this tweet, though, from her. It's remarkable to me. It's remarkable for me. I mean, decades ago, I was a Republican. But even coming out of the cultish atmosphere in which I was raised and harboring these weird beliefs, these absolutist beliefs about constitutional amendments and gun ownership and all the rest of it, even God, fundamentalist beliefs about religion, it's still, maybe I've been out of it so long that I don't remember the nonsense and the cherry picking and the wickedness of how they behave and what they believe. I don't know. But let me read you this tweet from Jen Psaki. Prayer is not freaking enough. Prayers does not end school shootings. Prayers do not make parents feel safe sending their kids to school. Prayer does not bring these kids back. Enough with the thoughts and prayers. Now, yesterday in the press briefing, Karoline Leavitt went to some dipshit in the back of the room to get a question that she could answer from a right-winger. It presumably right. The way the question is framed, what the second question was, which was someone asking a question about someone who is confused about their gender identity. It's a right-winger who's asking this question. And it's about, did you see what Jen Psaki said? I'm tattling right now. Did you see it? I need you to know, mommy. To which Karoline Leavitt answered.
Reagan.
Thanks, Caroline. I have two questions for you.
Sure.
Democrats, including former White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, attacked prayer and pushed gun control in the aftermath of yesterday's shooting. What's the White House's response to their comments?
Yes, I saw the comments of my predecessor, Ms. Psaki, and frankly, I think they're incredibly insensitive and disrespectful to the tens of millions of Americans of faith across this country who believe in the power of prayer, who believe that prayer works, and who believe that in a time of mourning like this, when beautiful young children were killed while praying in a church, it's utterly disrespectful to deride the power of prayer in this country, and it's disrespectful to the millions of Americans of faith. And I would encourage Ms. Psaki to pray for these families themselves who need it right now more than ever.
My second question for you.
Incredibly insensitive and disrespectful to tens of millions of religious Americans. Was it? Because we have a religious American who happens to be the Pope now, Karoline Leavitt. And the Pope, before he was Pope Leo the whatever he is, he was just a cardinal, just a priest, just a regular old religious American. And he retweeted this tweet from Chris Murphy, who happens to represent the state of Connecticut, where Newtown happened and nearly 30 children were gunned down in their school, however long ago that was. And this is what he retweeted from Chris Murphy. Your cowardice to act cannot be whitewashed by thoughts and prayers. So apparently there are some religious Americans among that tens of millions who believe this, that thoughts and prayers are not enough. They should be saved for you when you are in your private time, in your quiet, dark closet, as it talks about in Matthew, that you pray before man for the reward of being seen to pray. When you offer your thoughts and prayers after a tragedy, you're getting your reward here on earth. If you want your heavenly reward, you talk to God, you pray to God in private. This, I think, though, this clip from Jen Psaki on MSNBC yesterday is what I believe, or the day before, is what I believe actually predicated this question. This was the initiator of this entire line of questioning for Karoline Leavitt. And brace your, if you're a crier like me, I cry at commercials. I'm a crier, unabashedly, not ashamed of it. I love it. In fact, I think it's a strength of mine. If you're a crier like I am, maybe sit this one out, because Jen Psaki is showing peak emotion, peak anguish, while just talking about what took place in Minnesota. And this is what set these Republican ghouls off.
About sending them off to school this morning, I've been thinking about their friends and their teachers, about all the parents, about all the grandparents out there navigating the return to school. And all they should be hoping to do is have someone to sit with at lunch or someone to play with on the playground. And they should be waiting to hear an update when they get home. And that is not what these parents at this school experience today. Sorry, this is a tough one. Having your child killed while they are sitting in a pew for a morning prayer service is not what any parent should have to worry about. And I have felt a mixture of anger and a lot of anger and emotional exhaustion about this today, as I'm sure many of you have, because we have been here so many times. And yet again, like clockwork, half of the politicians in our country have little more to offer than thoughts and prayers. That is all they are offering. Join all of us in praying for the victims, was Vice President J.D. Vance's response today. That's what he said. That's it. Please join me in praying for everyone involved, Trump wrote. We have seen this play out over and over again. There is a shooting, then come the thoughts and prayers, and then comes the attempt to shift the focus. This is what always happens. You're going to start seeing narratives. You're already seeing them. They're already out there about how the shooter was trans. You're going to see narratives about how the shooter appeared to be anti-Trump and anti-Semitic, and clearly was in the midst of a mental health crisis. There's no question about that. But here's the thing. There are trans people all over the world. There are anti-Semitic people, unfortunately, all over the world. And people filled with plenty of political hate all over the world. And mental health issues are not unique to the United States. And yes, we should do more to address them. But it's also an issue all over the world. But this is the only country where shootings like this one happen this often. The United States not only has the highest rate of gun violence of any country in the world, it's become a leading cause of death for young people and teenagers in this country. That should make everybody angry.
That, what you just witnessed, is what Karoline Leavitt thinks is incredibly insensitive and disrespectful. That. You be the judge of what you think is the more disrespectful, insensitive thing. Jen Psaki's very real. She's not an actress. Are we going to get her an Emmy or an Oscar for that performance? Or was that real emotion? Because she's a human being with a heart and a soul and empathy and compassion for the plight, the uninvited tragedy. They did nothing wrong. They weren't big balls hanging out on the streets of D.C. at 3 a.m. thinking, oh, this is a great time to be out. And then when tragedy strikes and you get beat up by a 15-year-old, you whine and cry, and it sparks a military invasion of the nation's capital. No, these children were where they were supposed to be at the time they were supposed to be, doing what they were supposed to do in their religious school. But Jen Psaki is the insensitive and disrespectful one. Not Donald Trump, who will do nothing. Not J.D. Vance, who will do nothing. Not Republicans, who will do nothing. Their tears, they reserve for the guns.
What the president has said is that, very simply, we want governors and mayors to ask for the help.
This entire fascistic endeavor to deploy more troops into multiple cities across the country is reaching a fever pitch. J.D. Vance out there giving a speech yesterday in Wisconsin justifying this, taking some questions from people. And he had this to say. This is remarkable, just batshit crazy from the Vice President of the United States, a former United States Marine, apparently. I mean, I believe he was, but come on. Someone who swore an oath to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. The rule of law is supposedly something that matters to conservatives. We're the law and order party. Only I can fix it, said Donald Trump the first time around. And now, as a measure to fix the thing that doesn't need fixed, he's sending the military to invade blue cities, by the way, cities in blue states, by the way. He's not sending them to other municipalities that have far higher, by orders of magnitude higher crime and violent crime rates and murder rates. He's not doing that. Watch this from J.D. Vance. Watch him try to spin this, and we'll talk about it on the other side.
And that's what I want. I mean, all of you, Washington, D.C. is your town. You literally built it with your tax dollars. You should be able to come and go to one of these beautiful museums or see one of these incredible monuments without fear that you're going to get mugged. And that's what we have changed in just a short period of time. And you asked the Wisconsin-specific question. What the president has said is that, very simply, we want governors and mayors to ask for the help. The President of the United States is not going out there forcing this on anybody, though we do think that we have the legal right to clean up America's streets if we want to. But what the president has said is very simply is, why don't you invite us in? Is Milwaukee a super safe city right now? It's had some crime problems. It's a beautiful city. There are a lot of beautiful, incredible, hardworking people who live there, but let's be honest, Milwaukee has had some crime problems. So have other parts of our community. Chicago, I know we're not too far from Chicago. Chicago's had a lot of crime problems. Why is it that you have mayors and governors who are angrier about Donald Trump offering to help them than they are about the fact that their own residents are being carjacked and murdered in the streets? It doesn't make an ounce of sense.
Invite you in? You want invited? Invite the military invasion and occupation of your city. Invite the masked secret police of Donald Trump, the new Gestapo. Invite them in to harass and harangue and kidnap off the streets American citizens and migrants alike. Just invite us in. The president is not going out there forcing this on anybody, he says. Even though on August 26th, Donald Trump held a cabinet meeting where he said that much. He said, I'm the president. I can do anything I want, I think is the quote. Anything I want to do, I'm the president of the United States.
So I would have much more respect for Pritzker if he'd call me up and say, I have a problem. Can you help me fix it? I would be so happy to do it. I don't love, not that I don't have the right to do anything I want to do. I'm the president of the United States. If I think our country's in danger, and it is in danger in these cities, I can do it. No problem going in and solving, his difficulties. But it would be nice if they'd call and they'd say, would you do it?
One, you can't do anything you want to do, Donald Trump. There is no justification for an armed incursion of the United States military into the cities of the United States. In fact, there are laws specifically prohibiting it. It's called the Posse Comitatus Act. Maybe, just maybe, the law and order president would be more concerned with the law than he is with being able to do anything he wants because he's the president of the United States, you fucking petulant child. Luckily, there are some adults in the room around the country, Democrats, of course. Gavin Newsom held a little press conference yesterday talking about why Donald Trump is choosing to send his military invasion force into blue areas while ignoring crime rampant, overrun with murders in red states and red areas. Watch this, and then let's break it down on the other side.
Just consider Speaker Johnson's state and district. Just look at the murder rate. That's nearly 4 times higher than California's in Louisiana. This is Speaker Johnson, 4x higher. I'm just offering, again, you've not seen this on Fox News, so President may not be familiar with these facts. So I want to present some facts to the President of the United States. And imagine this is alarming to the President to learn these facts, particularly Speaker Johnson, who's been such a strong partner an ally in these efforts. So the carnage in Louisiana is well defined. Of course, Mississippi leads the nation as the #1 murder state in America. Imagine this in particular may resonate with the President of the United States. It's got a murder rate 180%. 180% higher than Los Angeles. It's interesting. LA has more people. These are all per capita numbers. More people than Los Angeles. Perhaps the president could deploy the National Guard in every corner of Mississippi. It's the murder rate's out of control there. Carnage. And governor may want to make that phone call. Again, if they care about the issues of crime and violence. And the fact remains, if the president is sincere about the issue of crime and violence, there's no question in my mind that he'll likely be sending the troops into Louisiana and Mississippi to address the unconscionable wave of violence that continues to plague those states.
I like how he framed that. That if the president is sincere about the issue of crime and violence, there's no question in my mind, says Gavin Newsom, that he'll likely be sending troops into Louisiana and Mississippi to address this unconscionable wave of violence that continues to plague those states. He's obviously being tongue-in-cheek. There is doubt in his mind that that's going to happen, because that's not going to happen. Donald Trump is going to start with Chicago. He already has troops in LA. He'll move on to New York City, then maybe Seattle. Who knows where else? But it's not going to be in Louisiana, in the district of the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. MAGA Mike, oh, you can't have that. It's peaceful here, y'all. He's not going to send him to Mississippi. No. That would be too much. Those places are safe and secure and run by reasonable, responsible men and women, Republicans. Donald Trump wouldn't be able to effectuate his Civil War plans if he were to do that, because he needs his red state military, his red state National Guard troops to invade and occupy cities and states that are run by Democrats, sparking the uprising he yearns for, to declare martial law or whatever other nonsense, while his man waiting in the wings, J.D. Vance, who's eager as all eag for Donald Trump to die in his sleep so he can be president of the United States, and then he can be the God King that no one really likes anyway. Anyway, I don't know how many, I need to come up with a better phrase. Somebody could find me a better phrase than we're in a tight spot. We're in a bad spot. We're in a dangerous spot. We are precariously perched on the edge of disaster right now. It's not hyperbole. Please comment below, engage with this video with your likes and your comments and your shares. Make sure you're subscribed to this channel. I would appreciate it very much. You can call the voicemail line, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me, daily@dollemore.com. I didn't mention in any of my videos today, but we'll end it with this. If you're still here, you'll care. I am likely at this very moment in the state of Idaho, traveling for a wedding this weekend. And I won't be around on Monday, but I'll be back on Tuesday, broadcasting live on tape from a hotel room in Boise. I love and appreciate you very much. Thanks for your dedication to the prospect of making this country a better place. I'll see you next time. Be genuine and take care of one another.